Hello, it's Wednesday, November 7th. I'm Rob, and this week's question is, how do you feel about the growth of online learning? So I want to start out by saying that I'm really excited by the possibilities and the potential that online learning has. However, most of what I'm going to talk about is some of my skepticism, and my skepticism is rooted in my experience with two online classes that I took while I was a teacher. These were classes that I took over the summer. I've had other experiences with online education in blended environments, and I think there's a different dynamic in those classes. So I'm talking specifically about online classes that I took. One class is something that I would describe as very traditional. Basically, I had an astronomy textbook, and the teacher assigned readings and problems from the textbook each week. I was left wondering, what about that class helped me in a way that I couldn't have done on my own with the textbook and the problems and the answers at the back of the textbook? The only thing I could really think of is that having a weekly deadline helped me get through a lot of material at a pretty quick pace. Other than that, I'm not sure that the teacher's role really helped me learn more than what I could have learned on my own. The other class, I would describe it as very non-traditional. There were actually no assigned readings for that class. There were a certain set of problems that we worked on, and we could use whatever sources that we wanted in order to work on the problems. By the time that class was over, I was left wanting more from it, or feeling like I should have gotten more. I've never felt that way about any other class that I've taken before. So if I think about all of the classes I've taken, and I try to rank them according to those that were most valuable to least valuable, the online classes I took would not be near the top of that list. As I continue to think about online education, I'm still excited about it, but I think that I end up having more questions than answers about it. So I'm going to share what some of those questions are. First, an overarching question for me is, how does revenue generation factor into the purpose of online learning? For a number of reasons, the cost of an online class and the money that it can generate seem to me to be bigger factors than in other brick and mortar types of classes. Of course, money is still a consideration in those classes. For some reason, it seems especially to be a salient factor in online education. Another question is, what is the role of the teacher in an online class? I think that an effective online class has to clearly define the roles of the teacher and how they're different than what the teacher would be doing in a brick and mortar kind of classroom. I think that some people might even use online education as a way to think about reducing the cost of education by getting rid of some teachers who would teach in a traditionally brick and mortar setting. And I'm thinking more in the context of K through 12 education. I'm not sure that an online class can completely replace all that a teacher in a real building does. My last question is, how does scale affect learning? Of course, there's a big movement as of late to have these massive open online courses, or MOOCs. And I've heard about some innovative ways in which students are encouraged to interact with one another in those classes, and I think that's part of some exciting potential for those classes. But in doing so, it's difficult for the same kind of teacher-student relationships to be developed that would otherwise be developed in a smaller, more intimate group. I think it's just interesting to think about what might be lost while losing some of that interaction. So to wrap up, I think it's an exciting time for online education. However, not all the consequences of its growth can be predicted. I think that's part of what makes it an exciting time. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.